and they thought it's everywhere. So why would they even assume that this is India? No. So I think it's just we as Indians, first generation immigrants, think that, now that it's been portrayed on the big screen, people will sort of just, and the entire image of India will be scattered. But I think I was so wrong.
I'm a child of an immigrant. My father's from Ireland. And I can remember, it doesn't happen very often in recent years, but I can remember a period in my life where I would mention, my father's from Ireland, and the first thing they'd want to know is, oh, are you Catholic or Protestant? Because all they knew about what was going on in Ireland at that time is that the IRA was, setting off bombs, and the Protestant paramilitary groups were attacking Catholics and that sort of thing. Because that's all they heard about on the news. That's all they saw in movies and TV shows. There was a period where I think Liam Neeson was an IRA gun smuggler on Miami Vice. Well, Miami Vice was one of the most popular shows on TV at the time. So that's the only thing they ever hear about Ireland is, well, you all must be blowing each other up over there, So that's, to go along with what you're saying, I think, and I can say this, as a native-born American, that folks in this country have an astonishing lack of curiosity about not only the rest of the world, but other parts of their own country. So I can see where your first impulse might be to fear that, okay, Americans are going to see this movie and that's all they're going to think about India is, this great poverty. I mean, do you really have bad people going around blinding children so they can be better beggars? Because this may be the only exposure they have to life in contemporary India right now, and they probably will watch the movie and wonder, well, why aren't there more elephants running around? Because that's the only other exposure they have to India.
I took a course in Indian history at one time, so in college, so I had some understanding, but I was fascinated by what this movie portrayed, and I haven't seen any movie that's portrayed this, is the growth, the rapid change that's going on in India right now. That scene when they were in the the skyscrapers, and they were looking out in this huge promise of things changing and growing, that to me was an eye-opener. I mean, I knew that India was prospering before the economic downturn right now, and I knew that they were almost competing with China in terms of manufacture, and people were beginning to understand and enjoy prosperity in India. But I had no idea until I saw those skyscrapers going up that this is what's going on in Mumbai and probably all over India. So to me, again, it was about hope. It was about opening my eyes to the possibilities. And you were talking about the slums, but this is the beauty of the movie. It didn't just show you slums; it showed you everything. It showed you the journey, yes. And it's just been the last few years when that prosperity has been just awakening this sleeping giant. So I thought in so many respects it was very enriching to me. And yes, I agree that it was a fable, but that's okay. For some reason, people insist that it has to be real. But it's a fairy tale in one sense. It's a fable, but that's great. And we should accept fables, and we should value them for what they bring to the table. So I wasn't bothered at all by the exaggerations, and I love that guy, he's a famous Indian actor, the TV host.
Oh, yeah, Anil Kapoor.
Kapoor, yeah. He was so subtle. He did a beautiful job, and he just made you squirm. He was brilliant at the way he handled that. And there's another thing that I really loved about it. I saw a wide range of excellent performances throughout. I mean, Danny Boyle, he brought out great performances in everybody. I didn't see a ringer in there. I can't think of a ringer in there. And the young woman who played his love interest, she'd never acted that I know of before. This is her first time she was a model, a beautiful model. But I think you're going to have a hard time telling me that this movie is yes, it does have problems, but that's okay, man. I just thought it was a wonderful movie.
I just want to touch very briefly on the progress part of it. I was in Bombay 10 days ago, and Slumdog had just been released. And there was a lot of talk going on about it. But one of the first things that happened was that the Slum Dwellers Association wrote up a petition because they were upset at being portrayed as such. But I want to step back and think 25 years ago, those slum dwellers didn't have an education. They now have enough of an education to make a petition. They're moving up in life too. The slums are a consequence of 20 million people living on a sliver of land that's 1/3 the size of Manhattan. So it's a question of demand and supply. But they're moving on. Everybody in that country is looking ahead to better times, better dreams, bigger achievements. So they were upset, but now they have the wherewithal to have an education. We are all cognizant, even here as first-generation Indians that live here, are supportive of so many literacy programs that are going on in the slums itself that we're pushing. You know, everybody is trying to make a small amount of difference. We have Pratham and Ekal Vidyalaya and all of these that are being funded from the entire world to help literacy programs there. So it was ironic to see that they were protesting. But to me, it was positive that they were all coming out to say, you know, hey, we have a problem with this, so we're going to either fix it ourselves or you're going to help us fix it.
They're making a movie on our sad story. So that was, I think, the petition as they were being called dogs.
Does anybody know where the term slum dogs came from?
I think it was the director's...
Or the screenwriter? The screenwriter? So that might have been...
I believe it was a connotation of slums plus the underdog. And that's how they put the slum and the dog together. And, you know, yes, they are the underdogs, and they live in very pathetic, you know, habitation. But in Bombay, Dharavi, the slum, which is Asia's largest slum, I saw it, which is why I know I just saw it, has now been cleaned up. At least 1/3 of it looks way cleaner than it ever did. So people are working at it. And, you know, I really believe, or I want to believe, that the focus on and attention on this movie is going to inspire many more people from around the world to go in there and do something about it.
The most touching part for me was 4 of the little kids are actually from slums. So the co-director, who is from India, she said that she had hard time. I mean, they have no training, nothing. So they acted so well, but when the camera rolled on, they were like really shy in front of the camera. So they really had to take that teeny weeny, you know, camera just so that they don't get intimidated. But the outcome of this is now they have an education fund on each of the kids' names, and those kids are rich now, and I'm sure they will be inspired to do for the fellow kids and their fellow slum people. So I guess we should take this into consideration and think that it's for the betterment of slum people now.
Well, also, maybe one of those kids will grow up and make a movie about India that would be, you know, a more complete portrait.
That's right.
You know, I mean, I forget who it was. I think it may have been Jean-Luc Godard, the great French filmmaker, said, you know, the best critique you can make of a movie is another movie. So if there are people out in India and elsewhere in the world who take offense at the depiction of Indian life and culture and society in Slumdog Millionaire, well, make your own movie. And maybe millions of people will look at that one as well.
Do we always need a foreigner to come? Because Sati was not just done by Raja Rammohn Roy. Lord William Bentinck had to step up to take actions, and that's how it's polished. Dowry is still in India, and we cannot run away from it. It has not been abolished. Nothing has been done. So do we again need an outsider to step in and do something, and then the Indian government is going to be awake?
Nothing personal. Indians should not take it personally, but I think an outside view is more objective because we have been living in the country. We take some aspects for granted because we are seeing it day in and day out. So then we are sort of biased about it. And when an outsider sees it I mean, it's purely on the perspective of, doing something about it, like as in this film, or, revealing to the world that this is wrong and something needs to be done about it.
Whether it's revealing the truth or bringing back the reality or just winning Oscars. The point today is that we had a good talk, and we should not feel that it is a bad portrait on India. It's just a movie, and just enjoy it. I'm Ruchi Mukherjee, and thanks for being with us on this edition of Talking Points.